Hello and welcome to the Kick in the Creatives podcast, hosted by myself, Sandra Busby, and my fellow creative Tara Roskell, offering you interviews, inspiration, motivation, and a gentle prod in the right direction. And for lots more information, challenges, and other useful tools to help you get creating, you can go to www.kickinthecreatives.com. And of course, this is where you can also find today's show notes. Enjoy the show. Welcome to today's episode, and we are talking about taking action with your art. But before we get onto that, we just want to say a big thank you to our latest Ko-fi supporters because, you know, it really does help us to keep this podcast going. We're going to thank each of you personally at the end of the show.
Yeah, we really appreciate the support. Not only does it help us towards the cost of running Kicking the Creatives, that lets us keep doing what we do, but it also shows that you like what we're doing. So a big thank you from both of us.
And we also want to thank everyone who's been sharing their work for the challenges with us on social media. Jo Brown, she's always amazing. She seems to do, yeah, isn't she? She seems to do a bit of everything, I think. I've been really enjoying her drawings for the Kick Urban Sketching Challenge, but she's also been doing the Portrait July. There always seems to be, I don't know, a certain Jo Brownness to them, if you know what I mean. They're kind of instantly recognisable as hers, and I do love her stuff. Who else? Lynn Baskin. She did an amazing painting for Portrait July, and it was this kind of, it was a woman in a red dress, and it was really striking. I don't know if you saw that.
Don't remember that one, no.
No, it was really lovely. Imaginings by Karen. She's been doing some lovely drawings for the Kick Urban Sketching Challenge. Some of them have been quite gritty looking. I've been really enjoying those. So, but as always, there's so many. I mean, I could list, you know, a scroll of names, you know, if I had the time to read them out, but of course I can't. What about you, Tara? You all right?
I've loved the work of art by Julie Turner. She's been doing some urban sketching, the street scenes, and she's just so good at these. She does them with pen and ink, and they're really loose, and then she puts watercolour on them. Love those. And then Margaret Gray, yesterday actually, posted a page of portraits she did in ink. And if you know Margaret, she does the most amazing ink drawings. And you always know they're hers because they're these little squares. And she's just got fantastic shading. I have no patience for shading in ink, but she clearly has because she's a real master of that medium.
She really is. I love those little portraits.
Oh, fantastic. And then I've also got Doomsday Picnic. They sound a laugh a minute, don't they? Doomsday Picnic.
That's like a real contrast, isn't it? Contradicting terms.
Yeah. And anyway, they did a Fantastic Friday. It was a stylised woman. You know, you had that picture of the bald woman that was all,
yes.
She got kind of coloured lights shining on her.
Pink and blue, I think.
But she'd done one where she'd got a sort of stylised long neck, quite a fashion style drawing. I really like that.
Yeah,
so,
I love the way people are interpreting the Fantastic Fridays. I think the more that challenge has gone on, the more you sort of see some really different ways. I think somebody the other day I saw on Instagram had done it out of a bit like a Matisse with cut out paper, which I thought was clever. They just literally cut out the shapes. It wasn't like a likeness of the face, but it was just very clever how they'd used the face as inspiration for this piece. It was brilliant.
Was that just like a stripe? It was almost like a diagonal stripe down the middle. I saw one.
Yeah, well, they'd done one sort of, you know, where the light hits the face, they'd sort of cut out the shape of that in that sort of colour. It was very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sandra, what is new with you? And maybe you can actually explain, as well as telling what's new, why we're doing this podcast.
Okay, well, what's new with me? COVID is what's new with me. At the moment, as you know, Tara, I haven't been very well. I'm still testing positive as we speak. So I am definitely over the worst. And because you said, I'm really surprised you want to do this today. I might have to edit the odd sneezing or coughing fit out, I guess, or sniffs or whatever, but I'm used to doing that with you because you suffer terribly from hay fever, don't you?
Yeah, I'm always sniffing.
Yeah, so I'm dosed up. I'm all right. I'm feeling a lot better now. But because I haven't been very well, I've done nothing new at all. Well, that's a bit of a lie, actually. Oh, I forgot to tell you this. I can't actually say this on the podcast because it relates to someone who might be listening. So I can't actually say something I am sort of doing, which I'll tell you later.
Okay.
But I am on my egg commission. And I had expected to sort of have finished the mid layers by now and be on to the top layers. But the problem is because when I do my paintings, a lot of the underlayers are all earth colours, which is the same for this egg. But then I sort of work my ways from my darks to my lights. But because this egg is predominantly the base colour that I'm mixing is, white, and I'm mixing with other colours, obviously, to make it darker. But white is it takes forever to dry with oils. It's one of those pigments that just takes forever. So I'm having to leave a long time between layers before I can paint the next one. So it's not actually taking me physically any longer to do. It's just taking me a lot longer to finish because I have to wait so long for those layers to dry. So the person who actually asked me to do the commission probably thinking, for goodness sake, how long is this going to take? But, it just takes as long as it does, doesn't it?
Yeah,
so I'm on that.
Ill, does it? So.
Yeah, and I'm on a bit of a fun project. I thought it might be a bit fun to do, which I can't talk about because in case that person's listening. And yeah, what brought this episode? Well, I'll tell you about that in a minute. Let me ask what's new with you first.
All right. Well, I was trying to think what's new with me, and I'm actually kind of really happy with my art at the moment, and it's not often you hear me say that.
It's amazing. I love it.
I don't know. It's like, and no doubt next time we have a podcast, I'll go, oh, nothing's going right. but at the moment, it's like, when you have a few days, and just everything you paint seems to work.
Yes,
I love it. And that's how I'm feeling at the moment. I'm sure the next time I pick my my sponge brush up, it won't work. But I'm really liking the way things are going. And one thing I've really enjoyed was I decided to do this competition that was on Twitter, and it was for NFT artists.
Yeah.
And I don't usually do competitions because basically I don't like being told what to do. And in the competition, they're kind of telling you. There's usually some if there's a constraint-based competition. And this one was someone else, one of the other artists on Twitter said, she'd had a go at it. And she goes, Tara, you should give this a go. And I said, I'm not sure about that. Because the brief was to have an olive background, to use a little bit of red, and to have some cheetah print, or use something relating to a cheetah, like a cat, big cat.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, olive. I hardly ever use greens, as you know.
No.
And olive is just, I'm not sure that will work with the charcoal. So I thought, just have a go at it. So I did it, and I must admit, halfway through, I don't know if you've ever been on a painting, and halfway through, it's like, I can't make this work.
Oh, this always. Every time I do a painting, that's what I call the skanky teenage stage, yeah.
Yeah, but it was just almost like, I don't know how I can pull this together, because I knew I needed to bring other colours in it to give it a bit of punch, as well as the ones they'd said. And it's like, this ain't going to work. It ain't going to work. And then at the end, I just kept on managing to put extra little tweaks of colour in. And I thought, I really like that.
So now you're going to go for your green phase.
Yeah. No, I am actually going through my green phase. And so I put it up as an NFT, and it sold within a day. It was actually supposed to be into competition, and the people who set the competition were going to buy so many of them, but it sold anyway.
Yeah.
And then I thought, I'm going to do some more like that. So I've been off doing quite a few olive ones, which is so weird considering brilliant. I didn't.
And the more you're doing it, of course, the more they are just falling off your brush, because now it's like almost effortless, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just, I think as well, when you do something like that, it brings a little bit of freshness to what you're doing. Yeah. And also, it's sent me off in another little kind of tangent, because what I've realised now is because I had to add so many more colours, because normally I'll do, say it's a blue one, I'll do a blue, and then I might add some more blues to it and a little bit of yellow. But it's very much too colour based.
Yes.
If you know what I mean. So, but these, because I had to add loads of touches to bring it to life, I've started to realise, you know what? Bring a little bit more colour in some of these. And I'm really liking how that's going as well.
No, it's lovely. You're on a roll. I love it. It's brilliant. Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite at the moment, but I think a lot of that has just been because I've been feeling so pants. And do you know what the worst thing about having COVID is this time? We were talking about this earlier, that actually it's a much shorter version than last time, because the first one I ever got was 3 weeks of being ill. This was just really like a week. But the worst thing is, the price of everything has skyrocketed.
Yeah.
So I went shopping because we needed
Not
things
while you
like...
had COVID.
No. This is the last time we went shopping. We needed things like toilet roll.
Yeah.
No, I haven't been anywhere with COVID. When we needed toilet roll, we needed washing liquid, all those sort of householdy stuff. Anyway, I was looking around. My jaw was on the floor because everything has at least doubled in price. It's crazy. Anyway, so I got to the toilet roll and I was thinking, do I really need quilted toilet roll? Do you know what? I can do without that. I'm just going to buy the cheap stuff. So I bought the cheap toilet roll, and of course now my nose is really sore because I've been basically blowing on sandpaper.
Your bum's really sore.
I've been blowing my nose on sandpaper for the last couple of few days.
Tissues?
Well, no, this is the thing. I couldn't go out and buy any, could I? Because Paul had it as well, so he had to stay off work. So, yeah. Anyway, so anything else new with you? Well, before we get on to
we get on the price of toilet roll, no.
Not like us to divert, is it?
No, not like us at all. And what was the actual moral of that story?
Don't skimp on toilet roll.
Oh, right, okay.
Oh dear. Anyway, okay, so let's get on to today's episode. And you asked, didn't you, why we're even talking about this?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, let me tell you what we mean by taking action with your art. And what we mean by that is when you find yourself a bit stuck somewhere, how to do something about it and make things happen. And the idea for this episode came about when I was kind of having my own personal confidence crisis. Not like me, Tara.
You still are a little bit, aren't you?
Yeah, I seem to have them from time to time. I think we all do, don't we? Occasionally. But it was at the time when I was kind of experimenting with new ideas, but still I was kind of generally feeling a bit down on my art. It just kind of seems to be this normal ebb and flow of being an artist, isn't it? Where you kind of, 1 minute you're feeling good about things and then you're thinking, I don't know, where am I going, this sort of thing. But so I was going through one of those stages and then things just started to happen. And it kind of told me that actually, I was doing all right. But of course, me being me, I did think it was some kind of message from the universe. But then, Tara, you pointed out to me that maybe the things that happened because I took some action and made those things happen, which really, that is the truth of it. I'd entered the SWA exhibition at the Mal Gallery, which I'd never done before, and my painting got selected. I'd put all of my art up onto a secondary site, and shortly afterwards one of my paintings was featured in their May favourites, and not long after that I then got a commission. I was working a lot harder on my social media, and off the back of that I got invited to be a guest on another podcast, and all of those things happened at that point where I was feeling a little bit low, and I'd kind of put that down to this message where, of course, Tara, you're much more level-headed than I am, aren't you? You were right. It wasn't a message from the universe. It was simply because I had previously actively, even if unwittingly, made those things happen. And just as I'd started to feel flat, they all came to fruition. So it just goes to show, doesn't it? You do something and something might come of it. If you don't do something, then nothing's going to happen.
And I think as well, you did all those things at once. So you applied for all those things around roughly the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, and so even if one hadn't come off, you'd have still made progress. And I think sometimes, I mean, I'm not saying you were lucky, but it worked out really well because all those things came off as well.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
which is really good. But obviously, the more you do, the more likely that one of those things will come off. So I think the first thing you need to look at is what you might need to take action on. Is there anything that you're really not happy with at the moment? So perhaps you feel like your art isn't improving. And if that's the case, you need to start asking yourself, why isn't it improving? And one of the most likely answers is that you're not putting enough time into actively drawing or painting. I think we've all been there. We all get frustrated. Why isn't my work getting better? And perhaps that's because you're only drawing or painting once a week or once a fortnight. So what you need to do is put a set time amount to draw each day or every couple of days, and then stick with it. And then, that's probably better as well if you only put aside, don't be unrealistic. If you've got a full-time job and kids, don't say, I'm going to do 4 hours a day. Say, I'm going to do half an hour a day or a quarter of an hour a day. It's much better to have that consistent, short amount of time rather than sort of trying to cram something in. And then another thing you do is take part in challenges. Obviously, we're a big fan of challenges. But what you can either do is take part in an existing one that's very specific to what you're trying to improve on. Or if there's not one that exists, start your own. But state it publicly. Say, I am doing a challenge and this is what I'm doing. Because that helps hold you accountable as well.
Oh, it definitely does. And we've got no end of them on our website. If you go to kickingthecreatives.com, if you need to find a challenge, you'll find them there for sure. And you'll find 5-minute ones, daily ones, weekly ones, So
as well, with hours, you don't have to do, just because we've got 5-minute march, just because it's July, doesn't mean you can't do 5-minute march, if you know what I mean, does it?
You
can call it 5-minute July.
We're definitely open for anyone to interpret our challenges however you want, whatever works for you. Yeah, that's a good point. But practice, like you say, practice is so, so important. But also, again, if you're not improving, even though you're practicing, are you putting enough time in for active learning? You'll improve a lot more quickly if you combine that practice with, reading tutorial books or watching tutorial videos on those things that you want to improve on. But you do need to do both. So make sure you're putting enough time into actively practicing as well as, watching these videos and reading these books. But you don't want to just be watching or just be practicing. You need to do a bit of both, really, to improve more quickly. You can also
get guilty of the watching, do you?
Oh, yeah, you can get sucked into it. And you almost feel, don't you, that if you're watching a tutorial video or you're reading a book on art, you almost feel like you've done it. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
But you feel like you're being creative by watching someone else be creative. And actually, that's actually not true. If you're watching it doesn't mean to say you can do it. So you've got to try and do it as well.
And also, do you not think when you watch one of the tutorial videos, and say like someone's showing you this technique with watercolour where they show how you drop wet and wet in and it goes beautifully and just, dissolves lovely. And you think, oh, okay, I get that now. And you really don't get it at all until you've tried it, because you'll try it and then it will be this flowery mess. Won't it?
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. Yeah, you feel like, oh, I've seen them do it. Well, I could do that.
I get it, yeah.
But it's so not the case. You have to practice these things. They take practice. It's the reason that person is good at that is because they have practiced it, But you could also take a course. It might be a physical course where you actually go to a course locally, perhaps, or it might be an online course. I know, Tara, you love an online course, don't you? Because you've done thousands and thousands of them. How useful have you found them?
Mixed, really.
But do you think you'd be where you are at now with your art had you not done any of those courses?
No, but I think what I do is I'm very bad, and I'm probably how we just talked, so don't listen to me. But what I do is watch a lot. But I don't action on them all. But I tend to use them more for inspiration.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I have done some, like Louis Rossignol, I did all the exercises, which is highly unusual for me. Because what I'll usually do is I'll watch a course and then I'll cherry pick. something that I might want to try, and I don't usually want to do it how they tell you either, because that would be too much doing someone what tells you, doing what you're told. I don't like doing what I'm told. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I know. Yeah.
So, what about you? Do you think courses have helped you?
I haven't really done a lot of courses, to be honest. I've done things where I've gone to workshops, and they've been very, very useful. But I suppose that's a similar thing, isn't it? It's a bit like a course in one day sort of thing. It depends. You've got to be choosy of what courses you're going to do. You want them to suit you. But yes, I do. I think it introduces you to new ways, and even if it's just to say, actually, this is what I do. I know, at least I know now that I'm doing this right, and this is the right way for me, and it's this person's doing exactly the same as I do, and this is what I want to achieve. Do you see what I mean? But I think courses are so useful, and especially introducing you to things that perhaps you wouldn't normally do. And you won't believe this, Tara.
Yeah.
Just recently, I downloaded a course on collage. Can you believe that?
Really?
Yeah. Because I just thought, do you know what? That really sounds fun. I've said to you recently about I want to get more experimental in my sketchbook.
Yeah.
And I want to create a really interesting sketchbook with more elements in it than just sketches. I want to do other things as well. So I saw this course and I thought, I'm going to do that. So now I'm very much looking when I go out as I might pick up that leaflet. I might want to tear that up at some point and use it.
Really?
I think it'd be fun.
Have you done any yet? I don't think you have you?
No, I haven't, because I've not really been anywhere to tear anything. Because I've had COVID, I haven't been anywhere. But no, I think actually I find that quite fun, because it's completely different than what I normally do on my canvases, which is realism painting, obviously. And I've been looking to do something a bit different. And quite fancy that, which, I knew you'd gasp at that.
Yeah. Is it combining collage with drawing?
Yes.
Or is it pure? Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, because I think, because you have been saying you've been in a little bit of a rut at the moment, haven't you? So maybe that's what you need. Maybe you don't need to concentrate on the big work. What is the big thing you're going to do next? Maybe you just need to have fun.
I think that's it. I think I need some fun.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And so another thing you might get frustrated by is that you're trying to learn a new medium, and that's always so tricky. But when you can't get to grips with it, that might be, again, because you're not putting in consistent time. But it could be other things as well. So the action could be, like we said before, join a challenge that's related to that medium, and that could give you the real accountability you need. Because I remember trying to learn how to paint. I set myself this challenge. I wanted to be able to paint loose watercolours without using pencil first. So just straight in, create a face. And so I did what you were talking about before. So I bought a book. Loads of people were recommending me that book by the woman, you know her name, the loose watercolour woman.
Oh, Jean Haynes.
Jean Haynes. So loads of people recommended her for loose watercolours.
I did a workshop with her.
I remember, yeah. And I have to say that did help, but as you know, I don't like doing the exercises exactly as they say. So I
Ever
just
the
read
rebellious
it,
Tara.
Yeah, and then I applied that to what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
But also, I set myself a challenge just to create a loose watercolour face without a drawing every day up until I felt like I'd got the feel of it.
Yeah.
Basically. And it just shows what time difference makes. Because I remember up until day 10...
You mean what difference time makes?
What? Yeah. What did I say?
You said what time difference makes.
Yeah, what difference time makes. It's like up until day 10, it was just a complete disaster. Everything I was doing just looked like a mushy mess. Because I wanted that wet and wet loose feel, but I couldn't control it yet. I didn't know what I was doing. And then, as if by magic, the next day, I did this face, and it's like, oh, that's it. I mean, obviously it wasn't perfect, but it was so much better. So day 11 was so much better than day 10. It was just like worlds apart.
Yeah.
And I think that's also what you have to remember. Progress doesn't go in this beautifully upward line. Progress goes in this flat, 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 up, and then flats again, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then sometimes goes down.
Yeah, it does sometimes go down. But so when you're putting that consistent effort in, you also need to stick with that it's going to be pants for quite a while. Like 10 days, it was completely pants.
Yeah.
And then you go over that little hump and start getting there. And I say, and that was combining the book and then putting consistent time in.
Yeah, and it's so, it's such a good idea what you're saying about joining a specific challenge for that. And, if, say, for instance, you want to get used to a brush pen, like a Japanese brush pen, Inktober. Or we do Inky April, don't we? I mean, the next one coming up is Inktober, isn't it? The external challenge. Or Aqua January, if you want to do your watercolours. Like Tara said, you can just pick one and do it for whatever month you want, really. But it's... I think the thing about doing it when it's out is you'll get a lot of other people doing it as well, which I think helps, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. But I think a lot of the challenges you can also bend to what you want. So, say, for example, we've got Blooming Marvellous May.
Yeah.
Challenge you and I both hate. Because we don't like drawing flowers. But, saying that, me and you like drawing faces.
Yeah.
So what we could do is we could do a face and they've always got a flower element within the vase. So it could be a tattooed flower. It could be a woman with a flower in her hair.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is you can bend most things to what you want them to be.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, God, if we'd have only done challenges that suit us, it would all be face challenges, wouldn't it? Or
would,
still life or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so it might be that you're lacking some of the knowledge that could help propel you forward. And what you need to do there is, apart from obviously what we mentioned earlier, which was to read tutorial books, watch videos, that kind of thing, why not try and engage with other artists, who perhaps do the type of art that you want to get into or need to improve on. Ask their advice. I mean, there's always going to be some artists who are going to be reluctant to share their knowledge. It is unfortunate, but mainly I think the majority of artists are very, very happy to share tips. And we certainly are, aren't we, Tara?
Yeah,
I mean,
I wouldn't reach out to someone who has like 1 million followers,
no.
Not because they wouldn't want to help you, but they probably get so many requests that they can't keep up with them all and can't see them. But if you reach out to someone who's on Instagram who's got, less than 100,000, quite a lot of them will take the time just to come back and answer a quick question for you.
Or maybe just someone who's maybe 1 or 2 steps ahead of you.
Yeah.
Because... they will very much remember where you're at and how it felt to need, a bit of advice. So that's what I think I would do. I'd go to someone just a step or 2 ahead and go, just trying to nail this. What am I missing? Have you got any tips? I love what you're doing, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I guess they can understand where you are as well, so they can probably explain it in a lot simpler terms, can't they?
Exactly, yeah.
One thing you might find is that you're actually using the wrong equipment, and that can really stop you getting places. I mean, a classic is watercolour. If you try and learn watercolours using cheap paper, it's just going to be a disaster. Even an accomplished watercolourist would really struggle with a cheap paper. They'd be able to pull something off, but it would look way worse than usual. And you basically just end up fighting against it. I mean, I remember as a kid, obviously when you're a kid, you have no idea, this was a teenager, no idea what paper you should be using for watercolour. No. My parents didn't paint. And I remember, you remember those old pans of watercolours you'd get?
Yeah.
But they were more kiddie ones. So, of course, they weren't great colours. But I remember painting those on cartridge paper. And you're never going to get that far, are you? You're only going to get so far with trying to use those on cartridge paper. Because you're just going to get a massive well of water and it's just going to be a disaster. It's almost like trying to run a race with both your legs tied together, I'd put it at. And that's actually the same with a lot of mediums. I remember people in our group having real trouble trying to make watercolour brush pens work. I don't know if you remember that. People say they don't. I put them on the paper and then I put water on them and they just don't blend, they don't move. And that was because they were using a standard cartridge paper. It hadn't been treated or anything. And when you put it on sandpaper, it's more or less like blotting paper, and the water would just soak in and the ink would move. So I think in this case, the action for any of the problems with the medium would be to read up more about the medium, seek out video tutorials, and also, like you just said, reach out to someone on social media and other artists and ask them for advice.
It's so funny you should say about the watercolour brushes, because, I don't know if anyone listened to, I think, the last episode, we were talking about I'd accidentally ordered the wrong Pro markers for the Winsor & Newton Pro Marker brush pens. And I'd ordered the wrong type. I'd ordered the permanent ones rather than the watercolour ones. So I sent them back, and then I got the new, I got the correct ones, which are the water-soluble ones. Anyway, I thought, oh, great, now I know I've got the right ones. Went straight into my sketchbook. My Sea White sketchbook, this is.
Oh, that should be right on those.
Nope.
Oh.
They do not move. I put it down, put some water on, nothing. I was like, I can't believe it. I mean, this is a mixed media paper as well. It's not like, it's not like watercolour paper, obviously.
Do you know, mine work fine on those.
Well, mine don't at all, and they are definitely the watercolour ones. So I was like, oh, for goodness sake. I haven't tried it on the Canson XL yet, but I'm hoping that'll be all fine. But when I tried it on actual watercolour paper, they blended beautifully.
Yeah, especially if you go for something smooth or a HP.
But I was annoyed because I thought, oh, God, I wanted to use them in my sketchbook, and I don't really want to buy a sketchbook which is, proper watercolour paper, because you always get about 16 sheets in them, and that's it. So I'm hoping...
I'm going to test mine out, actually, on my Sea White afterwards, because I'm sure I've used them in there before. Which Sea White is it? It is definitely one with the treated paper and everything, yeah?
It's a mixed media Sea White paper, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, strange.
And it's what I use to do the my cartoon drawings on.
Yeah.
And I use watercolour on it, and it's fine. But they just don't move. They might as well just be ordinary felt tip pens.
Because I actually did a similar thing. I bought a new mixed media pad because I couldn't get the ones that I normally had. We were buying those Canson XL.
Yeah.
And I had this other one that people on Amazon have got great reviews. And I thought, I'll try one of those. Didn't even think about the fact that it might not blend. Didn't test it or anything. Did a little drawing on it with I can't remember if it's with the brush pens or the watercolour markers. And then got my water brush out, started doing, I go, it don't move. It's like, oh no.
Yeah.
I spent it's only a half an hour sketch or something.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't move. That's a pointless, mixed media sketchbook.
Well, I'm going to try it on the Canson XL because,
that should work on there.
hopefully they will.
And my favourite, trouble is that it's more loose leaf. You get the sketch pads and they're just with the gum at the top.
Yeah.
And you pull them off. But those Canson Imagine, I love those because they're really smooth. So they're really nice for that. But you won't want loose, will you?
I like, it's like I like a book. I do like a book. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe you are confident on the art you're producing, but you feel like you're not being seen or noticed. This might be because perhaps you're not putting enough effort into social media, because, that's the place really, isn't it, where you're going to get out there. I think the action to take there is to get on social media and to plan to actually post at least once a day. And it seems like a big deal, but it's really not. There's lots of really cool ways to share your art. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You don't have to do fancy posts and fancy reels and fancy stories. We recently did an entire episode on 31 ways to share your art. So definitely check that one out if you need some ideas. I think it helps if you allocate certain times specifically for posting. Really, it's just to remind people that you're there at the end of the day. You want to encourage people to engage with you as well. And, you want to spend some time commenting on other people's posts as well. But you don't have to put tons of time into it. But I do think it's important to actually put yourself out there at least once a day. Don't you, Tara?
Yeah, I've been making the mistake at the moment. I've been posting on Instagram very regularly, but I'm not going around and commenting much. I always reply to anyone who puts something on mine, but I'm not doing what I should be doing and going around and talking to other people because I've been concentrating so much on a different platform. But yeah, it's definitely sort of trying to use that time a bit more wisely. Some of the things you could do is you could allocate maybe a day or a half a day a week, depending what time you have, maybe a bit of your weekend or an evening or something, and actually make a few videos, take a few photos, and schedule that already. And there's quite a lot of scheduling apps you can use. So Facebook have got their own scheduling thing that you can use. I think there's an app for it, but you can also do it on a web thingy. It's called Creator Studio, and you can schedule in there your Instagram and your Facebook posts. I don't think you can put reels on there, but you can prepare reels and save them as drafts, and then you can just post them later. There are also lots of different apps. I mean, I use, for Kicking the Creatives, I use one called I completely forgot what it's called. I can't remember what it's called. I use another one for myself called Sociamonials, where you can schedule like LinkedIn, Twitter. You can schedule pretty much everything.
Are they free
in there? No, you do normally have to pay a fee for them, but a lot of them will let you do so many posts for free.
Yeah.
So yeah, I paid for these, and they were about. I did them through a promotion. I got a lifetime for about $50.
That's not bad.
Which I thought was pretty good, yeah.
But I think it's a good idea what you were saying about maybe just taking a couple of hours on a Saturday just to literally go in to where your art is, and even if you're standing there holding a painting and then you just take a photo and then you take another painting and take another photo and maybe 4 or 5 of those, then you've got 4 or 5 different posts. Or
yeah, and you can also, don't just show them once, because people don't necessarily see each post. So then you might want to take some of yourself standing there and you're holding the picture, or then you might do a video where you start off really close in and then pull out. I've started to think I'm going to start doing some of those. So you can show the same picture multiple times.
Yeah.
And just post it, post it a different week or something. And I've noticed lately, especially some of the big people, if you scroll back through their feeds, you'll see over a month or two them repeating some of their stuff, or very, very, very similarly. Other things, if you've got a website, maybe you're not driving traffic to it enough, and maybe the action there is to regularly post links to your products in different places and explain what you love about the piece and what it means to you. You could put those. I guess you really need to find where your people are, don't you?
Yeah, it's finding that
like your work,
isn't it? Tell people the story behind your art. The people love that, don't they? But even if you don't want to, not everyone wants a website, do they?
No, it's a bit of a pain.
You've got to build it, you've got to maintain it, you've got to update it. So it's not everyone's cup of tea. But if you don't want a website, why not perhaps join a secondary site such as Etsy or maybe Art Finder or something similar, because then that takes a lot of the work out of it.
So that's your action.
That's your action,
you haven't done it, this is the problem. This is your action.
maybe even a blog. A blog is fun. I used to love having a blog. I've still got a blog. I don't post a great deal on it. It's sort of linked to my website, really. If you don't share your art, no one's going to see it at the end of the day. A blog is a really nice way to share your art, and it's much easier if you don't want to build a site. And the good thing is, you can get a blog for free. I think Blogspot is one of the free sites, and they're very, very easy to learn how to do. They're not sort of mind-blowing like building a website, and there was little or no cost involved. It's a really nice way for a beginner, I think, as well, to share their progress. And I think the great thing about it is, I remember I had a Blogspot blog when I very first started. And I remember I had that for about a good 5 years or so before I shut it down, and I built one alongside my website instead. And what was fun about it is looking at my first post compared to my last, and the improvement was so good. And I think as well, because I had this blog, and funny really, because I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I remember the very first time I just pressed the publish button on my blog. So my blog was there. It was like, oh my gosh, I have this blog. Oh, everyone's going to see it. Oh my goodness, everyone's going to see it. And I need to put something on it. Of course, it's not a case of if you build it, they will come at all. It took a long time for people to stumble across my blog. And I was absolutely elated when people started commenting. It was really great. But because I had it there, I felt accountable. I felt like I needed to post something on it. So I did a lot of art. And so that's a good way of improving as well. And sort of recording your improvement, I think.
Yeah, and if you don't like writing, there's no reason, if you're more of a talker, you can't just either record your voice and you put that alongside your picture, or stand there with your painting and talk about it.
Yeah.
Just as a little video post.
Yeah.
But if you feel like nothing has happened ages to move your art forward in the direction, to get you sort of towards a career with art, maybe you're not throwing enough sticks in the air or taking enough risk. I mean, I remember the beginning of this year, I was a little bit frustrated because I just wasn't selling any art, and I could see people selling art, and I'm thinking, my art is no worse or whatever than theirs, or my art is as good as theirs. Why aren't I selling? What am I doing wrong? And I really didn't know, but a lot of the problem is you don't know where your buyers are. And it's like chicken and egg thing, isn't it? How do you know where your buyers are if nobody's bought it? Because you don't know who likes it. That's when I started looking towards the NFTs. And obviously that isn't something for everyone and not something we're going to talk about much. But it's just finding, maybe change direction a little bit, finding somewhere new to find your target market for your art. I remember once in this group I was in, trying to find out who might like my art. I think this was before the NFTs, I can't remember. And I said, what sort of niche do you think I could sell to? And someone came back, and they all came up with a load of different answers, but one of them was something I'd never heard of. And it's like, what? It was called something rather trash. And I know that sounds awful, but what it was something to do with the tattoo market and a style of tattoo drawing. But I went and looked at it, and it's like, oh my God, that style is very much in the field of my art.
Yeah.
So in the future, I mean, obviously I started doing the NFT, so I haven't really pursued that. But maybe I could market my art to those people because they might like it, the people who like that sort of tattoo art. But I would never have known that had I not asked other people, because I'd never have heard of it. But also you could enter a competition, like I said I did, on the Twitter thing.
Yeah.
Just got to be really careful because some of them really cost a lot of money, and you got to be careful. It's not just one of these, what they call them, vanity galleries, where they're trying to basically charge you money to show your art. But a lot of them cost sort of £25-ish, don't they? £30, 20 a piece. Yeah. When I last looked. Yeah. It actually always frustrates me. I think I've said this before, that they charge you anything.
Yeah. That does me. I don't really understand. I guess there's some sort of admin involved in some of them, but yeah.
But I figure a lot of these, they've got sponsors, and I don't understand why they do it, really. But there we go. It's another tangent. But yeah, so your action could be try asking other people who might know what the target market is for your art, and maybe enter a competition.
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask big questions either. Would you be interested in showing my work in your gallery? Would I be able to hold an exhibition in your space? It doesn't have to be a gallery. It could be a local pub or a cafe or something. What's the worst that could happen? They can say no. Well, that's fine. Try somewhere else, But
why are we also always so scared of that no? Because I hate talking to people in person like that. If I've got to ask them a question, I don't know why we're so scared of it. Because it's no big deal, is it?
No, it's not something you should take personally, but it's hard not to. But at the end of the day, you've got to look. I think the secret there is looking at what's already there.
Yeah.
If somebody, say for instance, you've got to be a bit careful where you hang your art, because obviously you don't want it to get damaged or stolen or something like that. But I think, say for instance, you've got a restaurant, a nice restaurant in your local town. Say for someone like me, I've got some original paintings, or maybe I think it would be prints I think I put up rather than original paintings. But I could say I've got some really nice wine paintings or original prints, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can I hang them in your restaurant? they would look amazing there because obviously it's very related to a restaurant. They've got something to pretty up their restaurant. You know, they're probably going to be delighted to have your art there. And it gives you an opportunity to get your stuff seen. You could have a little thing underneath saying, you know, like a little price or whatever, and maybe you could offer the restaurant a percentage of any sales. You know, I think it's just being careful, because you don't want, if you're say your art is I don't know what's the furthest thing to food related.
You mean like high end. You don't want to put your stuff in McDonald's, so. Yeah,
exactly. But also something like, I don't know, people who draw watercolour churches and steam trains. That's not going to belong in a restaurant, is it? You've got to choose. If you choose the right space, then it's even like in an art gallery. I mean, you'll find any art gallery tends to have a specific genre in that particular gallery. A gallery who has a lot of realism art isn't necessarily going to have a lot of, or if any, abstract art, and the other way round. Do you know what I mean? So by having an actual proper look at what you know, the place before you ask the question, you're going to massively reduce the chance of it being a no anyway.
Yeah. And it's also, if you want to sell your art and you're not really getting anywhere, maybe you need to take action in different ways. Maybe you're not pushing your art enough. So some of the action could be, and I need to look at these because I know I don't, is to remind people of upcoming dates like Father's Day, the wedding season, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, all those sort of specific times when people will be looking for gifts, and suggest that your work might be an appropriate gift for them. I'm not sure mine would be an appropriate gift for both of those, but yours definitely would be. But I mean, it would be if you're in the right market, saying that. If say, for example, I have some of the steampunk beer and you could find a steampunk group, then yes, it would be a perfect, you know, this would be a great, you know, anniversary present or
wedding,
whatever,
you know,
wouldn't it?
Wedding season, I think, is like now, isn't it? And I think so many people just, you know, they'll buy toasters and everyone will buy something that is on the wedding list. But actually, imagine buying that person an original painting. That there then is an heirloom for them, isn't it? It's something they can hand down to their children, and we got this as a wedding present. And, you know, this is what I try and focus in on, things like that. I'm like, have you thought of perhaps buying a limited edition print even, if not original?
Yeah, because that probably brings it down to more of a price level that more people could afford. Yeah, and I do think one of the key problems with everything, and it's like me, I feel like I've now found a place where I can sell digital art, but now I'd like to also sell my physical art. And it might be the same place, but it's just finding that place. So maybe if you're big already on, maybe if LinkedIn and Twitter have been your places where you've been doing your social media, you might want to switch it to Instagram. Or if Instagram has been your place and you're not selling, maybe try LinkedIn and Twitter, because remember, there are totally different people in different places. Like on Instagram, there are lots and lots of artists. So as well as, you know, it's great for talking to people, but an artist by art, but is your buyer there? Is that the right sort of buyer there? Whereas LinkedIn, you've got professional big business people. Twitter, you've got probably writers, you've got very techie people. I'd say a lot of tech, a lot of people are into crypto, this type of thing. So totally different markets in different places. And you maybe just need to reach those certain set of people, whether it's a Facebook group, even a very specific Facebook group. I'm not suggesting you spam them, but, you know, just get chatting in those groups, and then people tend to look who you are and have a nosy at your profile.
Isn't it interesting that you struggle to find the place to sell your originals, and yet you sell very easily your digitals as NFTs, and I sell my originals, but I can't sell an NFT.
Yeah.
Funny, isn't it?
I think some of that is again down to market, isn't it? It's more probably your market haven't yet got into the idea of buying digitals.
Yeah, and realism. I mean, this sort of leads really well onto my next point, which was perhaps you're putting time into something that's just not right for you. You know, maybe the action there is decide if you are actually flogging a dead horse, because you can put a lot of time into something, can't you? And you really don't want to be wasting it for too long on something that's just not going to work, you know.
I think that's really tricky, that one, though, isn't it? Because how do you know if you are flogging a dead horse, or if we're talking about the selling point, or if it's just that, because a lot of times it's just you haven't found the right place to sell it.
Yeah, but then I suppose that's the point, isn't it? If you're not selling it on a specific platform.
Ah, I got you. I thought you meant okay, my steam trains aren't selling or whatever, you know.
No. Say, for instance, you're trying to sell NFTs on Twitter.
Yeah.
And you put an awful lot of time into it.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't work. Well, at some point, you're going to have to say, how much more time am I going to put into this platform trying to sell my art as this?
Right.
If you are putting so much time into that, remember, if it's not working, that's time that you could be looking at putting it into something that might well work. So I suppose if you're not sure, just there comes a point where you've got to set a time limit and push until that time limit has been reached. And if nothing has changed, then that's the time to make the decision. Right, okay, this isn't working. I need to put this time in elsewhere. You want to spend that wasted time creating work to sell on other platforms that will work for you. But like you say, it's finding where that platform is, isn't it? I think what you have to do is you just have to throw a lot of sticks in the air and concentrate on the ones that actually look like they're going to amount to something. They're going to grow into something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so tricky, isn't it, getting that balance? Because, like I say, I'd really like to sell physical art. And I think probably my answer is well, people like my art on Twitter, so I just need to shout about physical art on Twitter.
Yes.
A little bit.
Yeah.
When, that's probably my starting point. Okay, and then if my starting point doesn't work, then I need to think, okay, maybe it's LinkedIn, or, maybe it's in person somewhere, or, look at different avenues. But yeah, I mean, one thing I say that I did, I was always convinced that eventually I would start selling art on Instagram, and it never happened. So you put a lot of time into that, and I like Instagram because it's a nice place to meet other artists.
Yeah.
But for all the time I put in, I've never sold anything. I've had inquiries, but never actually got the sale that way. Which is interesting, how you can then switch platforms and then start selling.
Yeah, I think most of the things I've sold have been through Facebook.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I've certainly not sold... Oh, no, that's a lie. I've probably sold a couple of things through Instagram, but I think generally I wonder whether that's more of a place where people just look at art rather than buy it. I don't know.
I think people do buy art, and I've actually heard from people that you will get people who have got hardly any followers, but they are selling art.
Yeah.
Which is, they're just very clever and very good at it, kind of thing. And they know how, if someone says, I love your art, whereas me and you go, thank you so much. I've heard someone say, they'll say, do you
want to buy it?
Well, they'll say, are you looking for a new piece for somewhere in particular? They might direct message them saying, thank you so much for saying that about my art. Are you looking for something specifically for your house? So they won't say, would you like to buy it?
No.
They will get a conversation started, and I'm pretty pants at that.
I think I'd be the same as you. I'd be a bit more reluctant to do that.
I mean, there are some people on Twitter, I have to say, in the NFT thing, they're just so good at talking to people, and I'm just not that good at... Because I've always liked talking to very small groups.
Yeah.
So, if I went out with a group of people, I'd much rather it was like 4 or less.
Yeah.
Or if you're in a big group, you're with your 4 people that you mainly talk to.
Yeah, yeah.
Rather than talking to masses, because you don't get to know people the same, do you? It's quite tricky. Although some people are geniuses at it, but there we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, shall we read out the answers to our previous question?
Yeah, because I'm not sure my voice is going to last out much longer.
Okay. Well, I've given you the long ones as usual.
Oh, no. I've had so many coughing fits throughout this, haven't I? I've had to mute myself and I'm going to have to edit them out.
Right, so anyway, let me tell you what the question was, and that was, if you could change your artist name to something else, what would it be and why? And I noticed yours, actually, we use this platform for recording the podcast, and you put your name on there, and this morning Sandra's called herself Snotbag. So I think that should be your new art name.
Can you imagine?
Snotbag. No, do you know what? When we were talking before we started this show, and Sandra was talking about the new art she's done with the bums and so there's a realism aspect and then the figure. And I said, oh, you could always have a pseudonym. So I think you got one now.
Snotbag.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah, I don't think I'd sell. I don't think that
you never know.
Bump, maybe something.
Maybe you have to mix up those letters and come up with some really interesting name from it.
Maybe. Yeah, an anagram or something.
Yeah.
So who have you got then?
Oh, sorry, it's me first, isn't it? So I've got Justified Life. She says, I can't imagine a better name for Justina than Justified Life. And it's got some dots in there as well. That's on Instagram.
I've got Steffi Toons. Steffi Toons and Philo the Cat. Both already done. Both are separate identities. One can be whatever he wants. Shapeshift, be in costume and makes people laugh. Proud of himself that he's an icon to many, storyteller for children, supports autism and those in need. His creator, Steffi Toons, is his idol. Therefore, he must make a funny appearance to keep her childhood alive.
I've got Diabler 1. Coblino Art. I'm sure I've said that wrong. Already done it. A Coblino is a Welsh legend, a goblin that knocks on the walls of mines. As a child, when I misbehaved, my mother would tell me that the Coblino would take me away. So I'd go hide and draw.
Oh my God.
What a mean mum.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Stuff of nightmares.
Yeah.
I've got Mia or Maya, I never know how to pronounce that name, Castaneda. My current artist name is Little Miss Marikit or Marikit, which means Little Miss Pretty in Filipino. I want to change it to Marikit Tala instead, which means pretty star, because it's less teeny bopper and feels a bit more mature.
Oh, we like mature. We're very mature, aren't we?
Oh, no, definitely not. Yeah.
Okay, I've got Margaret Gray, and she says, I use my name, which I think is best, although I always like my maiden name, which is Fitzgerald, but it's too long, so my married name it is.
I've got Ruth Fulton Lawson. I chose to do something I've wanted for many years. I'm using my given first and middle names, Ruth Naomi. My family name and my married name both hold many negative memories, but most important, they're memories of not being free to be the artistic soul that I've always been, even when that voice was stifled. Yeah, that's a good idea then.
I've got Avian Co. It's a kind of funny thing. I actually changed my legal name to my artist name, Avian. That's quite good.
Andy W. Art. I use my nickname for social media and most artwork I do. I left my old life behind many years ago, and using Andy Will rather than my real name stops people I broke ties with from finding me. Ooh,
yeah, I want to know what Andy Will's real name is now.
I wonder did you rob a bank? Are you on the run? Oh, God, I've got so many things going on in my head now. I still do some architectural illustration under my real name because of my professional qualifications, but I keep off social media under that name. Ooh, that really does sound...
Yeah.
Oh, I want to know now.
I think he's a spy. I think he's a spy.
Yeah. I bet he's a spy. Instantly, you've become very interesting.
I've got Rosalie Dooligal. She says, I think I'd change it to a man's name, maybe. Now, that would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And I know authors do that sometimes, don't they? With female authors.
Yeah, they do.
Didn't, what's her name?
Joanna.
Yes. Not Joanna. No, Harry Potter woman. Didn't she?
Oh, J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, didn't she write, she wrote something different from Harry Potter, like a mystery kind of thriller thing. Didn't she write that under a man's name?
I don't know, but I know that there are a lot of authors who decide if they are female artists, they decide to just go by their initials so that they're not. Nobody really knows whether they're male
like
or
J.K.
female.
Rowling, like you just said. Then
yeah. And Joanna Penn, I think she is it J.F. Penn or something she uses.
Oh, right.
I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe people don't. Maybe people don't really think that women can write very dark, thrilling things. Whereas I
can imagine that. Yeah.
If they don't know, they don't know.
No. Okay. Oh no, that's yours. Next one.
Is it?
Michael's.
Yes. My own name is fine. Like a famous cartoon sailor once said, "I am's what I am." I think that was Popeye, wasn't it? Was it Popeye?
Yeah. Are you going to do the Popeye voice then?
I am's what I am's. I don't know. I can't remember. I was more of an Olive fan.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have an Olive voice?
I can't remember what she sounds like.
I can't either.
Been a long time since I watched Popeye and Olive.
It used to annoy me.
Actually, one of our biggest koi in the pond is called Olive.
Right.
She's a big chagoy. She's about, 85 centimetres long and really wide. Beautiful fish. And we recently got another chagoy, this time a male, and I thought, going to have to call it Popeye. Really want to call it Popeye because then I've got Popeye and Olive. But then I realised I couldn't really do that because Popeye is the name of a fish disease, a koi disease.
Oh, no.
I can't call it that. Yeah. Huh?
Brutus. That was the baddie, wasn't it?
Oh, I can't have a baddie in my pond.
No.
Anyway, right, let's move on to the next question for this week, which is, what is the biggest hurdle you have that gets away in the art? Of your art, sorry. So what is the biggest hurdle you have that gets... Oh, I can't say this today. Let me start again. What's the biggest hurdle you have that gets in the way of your art? So what's the biggest hurdle you have that gets away... Oh!
What's the biggest hurdle you have that gets away... I can't do it either. What's the biggest hurdle that you have that gets in the way of your art?
Do you think we need to say it again?
No, I think that's it. Anyway,
the
what is
biggest
yours?
hurdle for me has currently been COVID. Certainly really, really hampered this podcast today of all the coughing fits and stuff I've had to mute, but I'll deal with that in the edits. But yeah, no, other than that, the biggest hurdle, liking my husband, being married to someone I like a lot.
Oh, right. Because you want to spend time with him.
Because when he's around, I'm like, I want to spend some time with him as well. So, yeah, I've always said the best thing you could do if you want to be an artist is marry someone you don't like.
Right.
What about you?
Great advice, for sure. Yeah.
No, it is hard because I love being in the art studio so much. I really do. But if Paul's I much prefer it when he's gone fishing or whatever he does, It's a bit like you with Kevin and his golf. When he's playing golf, I'm sure you're not.
Drives me nuts with his golf.
Oh, does he? Now I'm like, oh, that's great. If Paul goes somewhere, I'm like, and now I can just concentrate on this, and I don't feel like I'm missing out on time with him because I wouldn't be spending time with him anyway.
My hurdle will just be my own head sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a lot of people. I think are going to say that. I think that's going to be the top answer.
Yeah, and it's procrastination as well. It's even when I want to paint, sometimes, like say for example, when I was doing the competition one with the olive, I will put it off because I'm scared because I don't quite know how to deal with the olive.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just delay it. It's ridiculous. But anyway, as always, you can tweet us your answers at Kick Creatives or let us know in the Facebook group, which if you haven't joined, I would highly recommend you do. We'll put the question up in there, also on the Facebook page, and of course on our Instagram, which is Kick in the Creatives.
Yeah, we hope we gave you the kick in the creatives you needed. And don't forget to pop over to our website at kickinthecreatives.com to find out how you can take part in some of our upcoming creative challenges. And of course there, you can also subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we'd be really grateful if you'd leave us a little review. That would be amazing. Even just a star rating if you don't have much time.
Yeah, and also if you do go over to our website, why not sign up for our newsletter? We'll send you 2 newsletters a month. One will just be some tips and some ideas for the challenges if you're doing them. But also if you're not doing them, you'll get some ideas, some nice tutorial videos. And then we'll also send you one which tells you what challenges we've got coming up for the next month and all the podcasts and anything else you might have missed.
Yeah, and they're not spammy at all. They're just a couple of times a week, and I really think
not a couple of times a week, a couple of times a month.
Gosh, yeah, a couple of times a month. Oh no, we wouldn't do that to you. A couple of times a month, that's all you get. But it's they are very. In fact, you know what, Tara? I like our newsletters. I read them and I look at the videos. Yes, I do. Yeah,
that's because I write them. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you do enjoy what we do, and you'd like to help us pay for what we do, because it does cost us money to do this, you can now support us by buying us a coffee, which of course we don't really spend it on coffee. We spend it on things like hosting this podcast and things like that. And you can find the link to the Ko-fi on our website. We want to say thanks to our latest supporters, and they are Katie Lennon, Coffee for You Both. Love listening to your podcast when I'm drawing. Love that. It's lovely to hear. Gervais Khan Davis, thank you so much, Gervais. Your Chana, is it your Chana? Coleman, love your podcast. Thank you so much. And as always, Joanna Brown, thank you so much for your support as well. You really do all help us to keep this podcast going. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And also, in the next coffee I get, I might buy some quilted toilet paper.
So the next Ko-fi, I tell you what, I won't split the next Ko-fi. Whoever gives the next Ko-fi to us, Sandra can buy some quilted.
Yeah, for my poor nose.
And your bum.
Yeah, my poor bottom. Oh my God, yeah, it's like going back to school.
Then while we talk about your bottom, I think that about finishes it
I
off,
think, yeah, let's end it there. We'll end it on that note.
Okay.
All right,
Bye.
See you next time. Bye. Oh dear.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, perhaps you'd like to share it and leave a review for us on iTunes. Back soon.
I remember I've always said I was a late bloomer. Yeah. Because I was like 35 or something, or 30 really when I started getting more interested, and then 35 when I started taking it really seriously.
It's not really late though, is it?
No, but I felt I was. Yeah. And now, of course, I'm 51. I'm like, it's too late to change my style now. I can't. It's way too late. Do you know what? Let me send you something, right? I'm gonna text you something now.
Oh, it's not a naked shot, is it?
No, it's not a naked shot. I had to blow dry my body because I was too hot to put a towel on it. This is what happened to my neck, right? Look at my neck. I had to video it. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Can you see it?
Oh, it's a video. Bloody hell.
Right, press play.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
That's hilarious.
I was so shocked. I thought I was devastated by that. I thought, oh my God, I really am old.